Hello, my name is Michelle Ashcraft. I am the Associate Commissioner for K through 12 Strategy at the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. And today I'm going to be introducing to you a new initiative called Indiana Pre-Admissions, Your Path to College. This recording is specifically for our high school partners to introduce you to the opportunity to join us in this initiative alongside many of our post-secondary institutions across the state. So momentarily, I'm going to share a PowerPoint that I will go through with you that will explain this initiative and how you can participate. And this recording will be part of an email that will be distributed to school partners via Counselor Talk and a variety of other distribution methods, and will be linked via our YouTube channel and our Learn More Indiana website for referring back to have this information as you make decisions with your school and help implement the program should you choose to participate. Okay, so as I said, we are introducing a brand new initiative through the Indiana Commission for Higher Education in partnership with many of our post-secondary institutions across the state. That initiative is called Indiana Pre-Admissions, Your Path to College. And this initiative is going to start with the high school graduating class of 2024. So the current rising seniors will participate in this initiative. As part of this presentation, I'm going to go over exactly what this initiative is. We're going to talk about some key points and terminology. We're also going to share a little bit about why the Commission is implementing this initiative and how we plan to go about doing that, including what the timeline for implementation looks like overall, and what the specific timeline would be for high schools who want to participate in this new initiative. And then to wrap up our time together, I will communicate some changes that we're hoping will occur for the class of 2025 and beyond. So, what is Indiana pre-admissions? You may have heard of other states or clusters of institutions instituting what is called a direct admissions model. Our Indiana pre-admissions initiative is essentially a direct admissions model, but we are using some specific terminology that I will go over here in a minute that is specifically calling it pre-admissions rather than direct admissions. Again, this is a partnership between the Indiana Commission for Higher Education and many of our higher education institutions across the state, and it's going to kick off with the high school senior class of 2024. Really, more than anything else, this initiative is a tool to promote the value of higher education and make sure that our Hoosier high school seniors are informed about all of their choices for post-secondary education within the state of Indiana and various resources to help them afford these options. If you've seen anyone from the commission staff present on our education value campaign, some of the work that we have done about how Hoosiers across the state perceive post-secondary education has indicated that two common concerns as that students and families just don't know what their options are. And even if they are interested in pursuing an option, that they're not quite sure how to afford those. And so this is really just a great marketing tool more than anything else to make sure that we alleviate any barriers for those who may want to pursue post-secondary education after high school. So some key points in terminology. We are very intentionally using the term pre-admissions and not direct admissions. So we really would like everyone to join us in using that specific language. We're doing this for a couple of reasons. One is we have many institutions across the state who already have direct admissions programs, specifically for certain majors, and we don't want to cause any confusion with those specific programs. Additionally, we have learned from some of our colleagues in other states who have implemented programs like these who have indicated that direct may imply that there are no next steps that students need to take, and there's certainly going to be some next steps required. So we feel that the pre and pre-admissions really implies that there are some next steps to take. It is also important to know that our participating institutions have agreed to honor pre-admission decisions assuming that students do maintain their eligibility criteria throughout senior year, that they meet any additional caveats that are specific to the institution, which I'll talk about a little bit more later in the presentation, and that they take those next steps to apply and enroll. And then it's also important to know that at the Commission, we do define college broadly. We want students and families to know about all of their options. So this is not just an opportunity for those who are interested in pursuing a 4-year degree. Whether students want to pursue a short-term certificate all the way up to a 4-year degree, we want them to know that they have options that they can pursue. So we do really define the term college broadly when we talk about this program. We are fortunate that we have 38 out of 48 eligible institutions joining us this year. You can see that list of institutions on the screen, and we are so grateful for these institutions choosing to partner with us in kicking off this Indiana Pre-Admissions Your Path to College initiative. I do want to clarify that it is important to us that we communicate to students what all their options are, as I said before. So while these institutions on the screen are choosing to participate with us, we will communicate to students what all of their options are across the state. That means that as students are referred to information about taking those next steps, that they will see information about how to apply to other institutions who may not be joining us this year. Additionally, our higher education institutions across the state are going to have the opportunity to opt into this every year. And so we are hoping that the list will continue to grow as we pursue pre-admissions for the class of 2025 and beyond. We are just really grateful for the partnership of so many institutions to help us kick this off this year. Part of the reason why we are also implementing this is that we would like to use this program both to reverse the trend in the college going rate for high school seniors across our state, but also to promote retaining our high school graduates and our college graduates here in state as well. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen that this graphic has shown our declining college going rate over the last several years here in the state. And this is specifically for high schoolers going straight on to college. This comes from our college readiness report, and there will be a new report coming out soon to show kind of where we stand currently. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see that our state as a whole does very well in bringing students to Indiana for college, but we have some room for improvement in retaining those graduates here. We think one of the good first steps is to help students get connected to post-secondary opportunities here within the state, and to leverage those opportunities to further their interest in making a life here in the state long term. So why implement this initiative? Really, this idea came from the state of Idaho, who has been doing a direct admissions model for several years, and Minnesota, who is currently implementing a pre-admissions model now. Both states have seen increases in their college going rates as a result of their models. Specifically, Idaho in the first year alone saw an 8% increase in their college going rate for that first cohort that participated, as well as a 3% decline in those students choosing out of state options for post secondary education. So we just really feel like after hearing Idaho's story, that this is one of the best things that we could do to further increase our college going rate for Hoosier students across the state. Additionally, as I mentioned before, you may have heard about clusters of institutions who have banded together to implement some direct admissions models. Typically, those clusters are working with a third-party provider to implement those specific institutional approaches. And we just feel like at the Commission for Higher Education that we can build a process that all of our post-secondary institutions can participate in without having to pay those third-party providers to do so. Additionally, as I've said before, this program is really going to help address two of the major concerns that we hear about from Hoosiers across the state. One is students and families not knowing all their choices for post-secondary education, and second, concerns about affordability. And I'll talk a little bit later in the implementation process about how we're going to address those specifically. And then finally, this program will encourage early applications and FAFSA filing, which will make sure that our Hoosier students who are interested in pursuing some post-secondary education or training beyond high school can maximize their choices and their financial aid opportunities. So this visual here just shows a little bit about what the journey to pre-admissions may look like. You can see that at the end of middle school, now following the most recent legislative session, we are going to be able to auto-enroll all eligible 7th and 8th graders into the 21st Century Scholars Program, which will significantly expand that program and the opportunity for students to have financial aid to go on to pursue post-secondary education or training. Additionally, for those students who are eligible for the 21st Century Scholars Award, they will sign their pledge. They will create Scholar Track accounts and complete that Scholar Success program. But it's important to know that all high school students can create Scholar Track accounts and complete that Scholar Success program, even if they aren't a scholar, so that they can monitor their financial aid eligibility in terms of state financial aid, but also use that Scholar Success program to prepare for what their option after high school graduation may be. We are also advocating as a commission to expand the Indiana College Corps to all high schools across the state, and certainly advocate for students to complete CTE and NLPS pathways as well. And we partner with the Department of Education on crossing the finish line to leverage assisting students who are near completers in those credentials and other opportunities to finish those either by high school graduation or the summer following high school graduation. And we're fortunate that through this legislative session that there is additional funding that has been set aside to continue that crossing the finish line work. We also are going to support high schools all across the state in ensuring that seniors have the ability to file the FAFSA or to opt out of doing so as a result of SB 167. We're also very excited that for the upcoming academic year that the Franco Bannon grant is going to see a 35% increase to the base awards. We've seen great growth through this legislative session in the funding for Next Generation Hoosier Educator scholarships and other state financial aid programs that we have. So really, we sit first in the Midwest and fifth in the nation for state financial aid. And we're just really excited to continue to promote these opportunities again for students and families to be able to afford post-secondary training and education beyond high school. And so we get through all of that, and at the beginning of students' senior year of high school, they will get their pre-admissions letter. And so the rest of this presentation will talk about what that process will look like. So how will it be implemented? The participating institutions that I showed on the screen previously will work with us to identify GPA and or SAT cut scores by May 26th. And what that means is they will either identify GPA only, SAT only, or a combination of a GPA and SAT score that we will use to pre-admit students to their institution. Similarly, we are going to ask high schools to indicate that they will participate in this initiative via a survey form that will be in an email that comes along with a link to this training by May 26th. Participating high schools will then upload partial graduation details, meaning preliminary GPAs, for students in the class of 2024 to Scholar Track by June 15th. So if a high school wants to participate, we need them to share that GPA information. So 6 semester GPA information for all of their class of 2024 students into Scholar Track. This is something that high schools are already doing for our 21st Century Scholars. So you have to upload preliminary GPAs and diploma types for those students into the system. So we're just asking that GPAs be uploaded for all students in the cohort. The commission will then receive an SAT file to upload to Scholar Track from the Department of Education. And we will use Scholar Track then over the summer to match those rising seniors, again in the class of 2024, to institutions based on the cut score criteria that the institutions have set. Those rising seniors, again in the class of 2024, will then receive a letter in August explaining what the pre-admissions initiative is and indicate that the pre-admissions letter is coming in September. We want to make sure that students know that this is a legitimate program, that it's a partnership between our agency and our institutions of higher education, and that they can be prepared to receive that letter. In September, then, following Labor Day, students will receive their official pre-admissions letter in the mail, and their parents or guardians will also receive a copy of that letter. And the reason why we're doing that is we hope that at least one of those letters gets open so the students and families know what their opportunities are. The front side of that letter will indicate which institutions the student has been pre-admitted to, again, based on the matching with that cut score criteria for each of the institutions. And on the back side of the letter, we will communicate about FAFSA and state financial aid opportunities. That letter will direct students to a landing page on our Learn More Indiana website to do two things. One is to apply to institutions via the Common App or institutional websites, which will all be listed on that landing page. And two is to prepare to file the 2024-25 FAFSA. Following the distribution of those letters, the institutions who are partnering with us will receive a list of their pre-admitted students. And then anyone who has school user or school admin access, so predominantly school counselors, but may also be registrar staff or other leadership or support staff at the schools, will also receive a list of students with all of their pre-admissions decisions. And part of why we are sharing this information is to empower our school partners to be able to help students and families navigate through those options and make decisions about how they may proceed with those options moving forward. Additionally, the outreach coordinators through the Indiana Commission for Higher Education will also receive a list of all students in their regions and their pre-admissions decisions so that they can further support school staff, students, and families again in evaluating those decisions and the options that they have moving forward. The commission will then promote early application through college application week and communicating about priority deadlines through that landing page that I referenced earlier. And the commission will promote early FAFSA filing in partnership with Invested and other partners and to help schools implement the FAFSA requirement as a result of recently passed legislation. So I have just a couple of quotes here from some of our institutional partners that kind of set up the rest of this presentation. One says here, we are so excited to support this important initiative and believe it will greatly impact college access in Indiana. We certainly are in agreement with that and excited for that. As we have viewed direct admissions initiatives across the country, not only have they impacted college going rates as well as graduate retention rates by keeping students in the state for higher education and post-secondary training, but also we have seen the most significant gains for students of color, low-income students, and first-generation students. So we just feel like this initiative can really have an important impact for the future of our state. This one is my favorite and sets up the next slide here, but I did just get a message from a contact at one of our institutions that in all caps just said, "This is major, dot, dot, dot." And I couldn't agree more. Part of the reason why I couldn't agree more with that is compared to our other states who are implementing this initiative across the country and those clusters of institutions who may be doing this through third-party providers, Indiana is in a unique situation. And when I say that we're in a unique situation, we can guarantee that every senior at every participating high school will get a letter. So imagine that in some situations, students may be sitting in class with their friends and maybe everyone around them got a letter and they didn't. We can prevent that from happening. And part of the reason why we can prevent that from happening is that we not only can guarantee that every student is going to get a letter, but we can also guarantee that every senior at every participating high school will get a letter that has more than one institution. And the reason why we can do that is we have several of the participating institutions who are going to do so with open admissions models. So no GPA or SAT cut score criteria. And so we really are able to provide the broadest access possible for Hoosier students across the state. Additionally, that landing page that the letter will refer to is going to streamline the process for students, families, school partners, and community organizations to have a one-stop shop to find college application links and information about the FAFSA. So that landing page will direct them where they can apply via Common App or via institutional application links. It will also communicate priority application deadlines and FAFSA deadlines and information on how to complete the FAFSA. So all of us working with Hoosier students across the state about their future opportunities can have a one-stop shop where we can refer them to instead of having to do a lot of Google searching for individual sites about all of that information. So how can your high schools participate? If you're interested in joining us on this initiative, and we hope that most of you are, You will complete a survey to indicate your participation by May 26th. In order to do that, we do need to have principal permission. So if you are not a principal filling out that survey, just make sure that you have had confirmation that you can proceed with doing that. You will then upload preliminary GPAs for all students in the class of 2024 to ScholarTrack by June 15th. Preliminary diploma types must also be uploaded for all 21st century scholars. You could certainly do diploma types for everyone if you think that's easier, but we just need the GPAs for all class of 2024 students and then diploma types for the 2020 or the 21st century scholars. As a reminder, you will also upload all final GPAs and diploma types for all 21st century scholars and those earning the academic honors diploma in the class of 2023 by June 15th. And this is regardless of whether or not your school participates in pre-admissions. That has been a longstanding requirement so that we can verify eligibility for 21st Century Scholar Awards and the incentives that come along with the Franco-Bannon grant. You will then ensure that all students in the class of 2024 have STNs by June 15th. We do need every student to have an STN because we will be using an upload from the Department of Education to use the school rosters to be able to match students and make sure that the students in the participating high schools are all matched to their opportunities. We also will need you to collaborate with our outreach coordinators to ensure that the class of 2023 and class of 2024 rosters and ScholarTrack are accurate by June 15th so that we make sure that the appropriate students in the class of 2024 get pre-admission letters, but that we're also prepared for financial aid awarding for the class of 2023. An important note is also that students who did not take the SAT will only be pre-admitted to institutions that have GPA only criteria rather than GPA and SAT criteria. So we just want to make sure that as many students in the class of 2024 complete the SAT as possible so that they can maximize their opportunities through this pre-admissions initiative. The following slides have been summarized here in a chart for what the participation timeline for high schools looks like. Again, you'll indicate participation by May 26th. You will then do everything that we need in ScholarTrack, including uploading GPAs and diploma types for the appropriate groups that you see listed on the screens by June 15th. And then ensuring that rosters are cleaned up and that we have STNs for all of those students by June 15th as well. If you have questions about cleaning up rosters or doing anything related to graduation details uploads, you can reach out to our designated outreach coordinators for your region, and then they will be able to assist you with those processes. Okay, so looking ahead to the future, our goal is to have GPA information through a centralized reporting process, which would prevent high schools from having to upload GPAs for all students to ScholarTrack. We need you to do that this year, but we are working on a process so that we don't have to burden you with that work moving forward. This would also allow us to pre-admit all seniors from all high schools rather than having to have high schools opt in. The reason why we have the opt-in for the class of 2024 is because we do have to ask our school partners to upload that GPA information to ScholarTrack, and because of that, we're going to allow you to opt in for this first year. Our goal is to have email addresses through a centralized reporting process. So this would allow us to be able to email pre-admission letters in August, syncing up with the application release timelines for our post-secondary institutions, especially those who utilize Common App. We would still anticipate following up with students and their families with mailed letters in September, but email addresses would allow us to communicate earlier. And so we're working on that towards future cohorts. We also anticipate communications beginning in the 9th grade to help students and families prepare for pre-admission letter delivery at the beginning of senior year. And so more information about those ongoing communications will be coming out probably closer to the end of summer. Okay, so that is our presentation to introduce this initiative to you. Currently, I am co-leading this initiative with Greg Harrell, the Director of Legislation and Program Implementation on our public policy team. Michaela Mitchell is the new Director of K-12 Program Implementation on my team with K-12 Strategy, and she will take over leading this beginning with the class of 2025. She's onboarding to this process as Greg and I build it now. And so in the future, you would interact significantly with Michaela in partnership with Greg. We all do have an email address that we have access to. So if you have any questions about this initiative, you can email at preadmissions@che.in.gov. Again, if you have questions specifically about grad details or anything related to ScholarTrack, we would encourage you to first reach out to your outreach coordinators who can assist you with that process. But pre-admission specific related questions you can address to this email address here. Again, I know we are asking you to opt into this process this year because we are going to have to ask you to upload those GPA details, but we're hopeful that most of you will join us in this initiative. We do think that it can be tremendously impactful for the college going rate for the class of 2024, and be just a wonderful opportunity for our state moving forward. We know that there is a little bit of extra work for you to partner with us to make this happen, but we have 38 of our post-secondary institutions that stand ready to admit your students, and we are just so grateful for their partnership and hope that our school partners will join us in this important work as well. Again, if you have any questions about this initiative specifically, please email preadmissions@che.in.gov, and we look forward to receiving your survey responses that indicate that you will join us for the class of 2024.